So here we go again. We're back for my weekly video. My picks for week number 9. Let's start ourselves off. Tomorrow, Thursday night football. We've got a bit of a weird game. You got Baltimore, who's sitting at 2 wins, I believe, and Miami, who's a bit worse, sitting at 2 wins. Every sign you'd ever hope for would be pointing to the Ravens. The spread is sitting just over a touchdown right now. So, my pick in this one, and this is kind of a hard one because, the Ravens are coming off a good game. Obviously, the Dolphins are coming off a win too. Tua played pretty good. They're back home now. I'm going to go out and say, I think the Dolphins cover here. I so badly want to take Baltimore because Lamar's back. Everything points to the Ravens. But I can't do it. I can't. That defense is still not it. I know they played better against the Bears, but I don't trust them as a unit still to win by 8. I think, we give Tua a lot of stick, which is warranted, but I don't think they're going to lose by more than 8 in this one. I'm going to say Miami plus 7.5. If I'm wrong, come flame me for it. Now we got a kind of an interesting spread here. This one sits at 5.5, which is kind of weird based on the tale of how these two teams are playing. So, Atlanta's coming off a brutal loss to the Pats. Obviously, London was out. Penix was out. You can say what you want about Penix, but Kirk Cousins definitely a lot worse than him. But now the Pats, they're coming off a nice win where they beat the Browns, who, aren't great offensively, but still, they have the best, or one of the best defenses there is in the NFL. So my pick here is going to be the Pats minus 5.5. I know I hate the Pats. Probably one of my least favorite teams, if not, the least. But I cannot see the Pats not covering 5.5 in this one. That's my pick. Kind of a lot of big spreads in this week as well. So now we've got a divisional game. In divisional games, they always get weird. But this one, again, it's a tale of two teams. Detroit obviously lost week 1. They lost against the Chiefs. But they've been really, really good besides that. Especially at home, they've been dominating on offense. They were off a bye. Minnesota just got blown out by the Chargers. I think JJ's back, but I don't think he's going to be 100%. Give me Detroit. I'm not gonna go over it a lot more. Their offense is playing really good. Their defense is the huge key for me in this one, which is kind of what, flipped me a little bit in this one. I think Lions win by 10 at the minimum, maybe 2 touchdowns. Give me Detroit. Now, we've got the Chargers and the Titans. Now, the Chargers, I'd say, are a top 5 defensive group in the NFL. Now, Tennessee, they just can't defend the run, and that is mainly their problem. They did a better job defending the pass this week, in the first half itself. They did better to stop Daniel Jones, but then they got blown out because Jonathan Taylor blew the game open. And they had to stack the box a little bit more. But it's impossible to stop a player like that when he's so good. But Chargers coming off that big win, Titans coming off another loss. Titans definitely the worst team in the NFL. I'm gonna say the Chargers. I hate it. I don't pick a lot of road favorites because those games get weird and weird quick. I think this could be a better game for Cam Ward, but on the run, which would be the big thing for a rookie quarterback, using Pollard in the run game, I just don't see it being effective enough to keep this one close. Then we've got the Colts and Chargers. The Colts, the second most efficient offense in NFL history. Now, Pittsburgh, they can't do anything but kick field goals. They don't go for it. They just kick. They just kick. They just kick. And this spread sits at 3. And the Steelers just lost to the Packers on a 3-point spread. But you're going to say, surely, the Colts are the free team here. But Mike Tomlin, this is a game he wins. And I'm going to say Steelers win outright. This spread, thinking ahead on it, I was like, oh, this spread should be around 5, maybe 6. This seems super, too good to be true. The Colts, obviously, they lost one game only. And that was because of a dropped touchdown pass on a 75-yarder. And their only other close game, really, was Denver, where, the only time I've ever seen that penalty called was on that one. So there are two weird plays, have affected 2 of their games. I think this is another weird one. Like I said, I think the Steelers went out right here. I just, the Colts are really good, but at a point, somebody's going to stop it, and I think that might be Mike Tomlin. And this is just one of those Steelers wins where it's like, after 2 losses, they just pick up a chippy one and they get it done. Now, my team, the Denver Broncos, against the Texans. Now, the big thing for Denver in this one, Patrick Surtain will not be playing for the next couple weeks, which is brutal. It is unfortunately brutal, because in this one, he would have been covering Nico Collins mainly. He probably would have been shadowing him a little bit, but the line sits at -130 for the Texans, who just won against San Fran, close to the same amount as well. Now, the last time these 2 teams played, it was very different. Russell Wilson, C.J. Stroud, Broncos were also on a 5-game win streak. I'm trying not to be biased on this one as much as I can, but I think the Broncos I don't think they have the better defense in this one. I do think the Texans have a better defense. They probably have the Texans at 1, the Broncos at 2, but I think the Broncos still have the better offense. And I just don't know if the Texans can move the ball enough to win this game. So I'm going to say Denver. It's a little, you could say it's a little biased, but I think this is a game Denver just gets it done. I expect this game to be very close. Now, do I think Denver wins by a touchdown? No, I think Denver probably wins I'm going to say 20-17 or something like that. But if the Texans win, I won't be that surprised, because that's a really close game. That's probably one of the closest ones on here. So, then we've got Carolina and Green Bay. Now, this is kind of a weird spread, because Carolina's been a respectable team. Packers off a big win. This isn't at 2 TDs, which is kind of surprising. And I'd expect the Packers to get a lot of public love, especially after their primetime win against Pittsburgh. Now, Bryce is back, which is a big thing for me. Bryce has been, you can hate him all you want, but Bryce has been a lot better this season, and he's kept the games close, and their defense has been really good. I don't think their defense is going to lose them this game by 13 or more. I know, Bryce was fully participant in practice today. I think this is just a simpler one for me to call. I think 13.5 is just too much. I think this is the Panthers' day. I don't think they win, but I think they cover that one. I think that game ends at 9 points. Now we've got the 49ers and Giants. The 49ers, who have about 3 healthy defensive ends. And the Giants, who just lost Cam Skattebo for the season, unfortunately. 49ers off a loss, Giants off a loss. Now we're back in New York. The Giants have played pretty respectable most of their games this season with Jackson Dart in there. The farthest game away was actually this. I want to say it's the Saints one, but because they beat the or they were close to the Broncos. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Chargers too. Kind of a weird pattern of games there. Now I think the 49ers definitely on the better team on paper. I do think this is a game the 49ers win. I just think they're the better team. Do they cover 2-5? I'm not sure. I think this game could end with the field goal, honestly. Because my big thing in this one, I don't know which quarterback's going to play for San Fran. I know Purdy was limited today, but I'm really iffy on his availability, and that kind of, decides this one. Because if Mac's in, 49ers definitely win. And I think they cover if Mac plays. But if Purdy plays, I think this game will be close, and I think the Niners win, but just by a touchdown. Or, sorry, just by a field goal. Like late or something. And then we've got Chicago and the Bengals. Now, these two teams are coming off pretty heartbreaking losses. I'm not gonna take the piss here. Another 3-point spread. We've got a couple of these this week too. The Bengals offense looks so freaking good, man. And the Bengals defense looks so terrible. And the Bears kind of just are mediocre on both sides of the ball right now. Caleb had some good games, then he played like shit the last week. I think this is a game where he definitely could be better, and I think they'll win this one, and I think they'll win by a touchdown. I don't think the Bengals are a very good team. Now, you could say the Bears aren't a very good team, or, whatever, but I think this is a game the Bears win by about 10. That's my guess on that. I just think the Bears offense is too good and their defense is just like decent enough where they can get it done. Now, could Flacco come out and torch him for, 5 touchdowns? Probably, but I think the Bears most likely are going to win this one. Can't always be the contrarian on these games after all, so. Now we've got the Saints and the Rams. 14-point spread. Now, the one earlier was 13-5. Now this one's 14. Those, these things kind of, speak a little bit. Because when a team gets that extra half point, honestly, it means a lot to me. Because I just think, it's so easy for somebody to be like, oh yeah, Packers won by 2 TDs. But the Rams would have to win by more than 14. Obviously, the Saints are just such a bad team. And, last couple weeks I've been like, oh yeah, the Saints, just, whatever. I keep, saying they're a better team than they've been. And they have been, but they're pretty fucking terrible. And Tyler Shuck's going to play this week. The Rams are a pretty good team. Their defense looks a lot better. McVay's at the helm. Stafford looks Stafford-like. Puka, Adams, both back. Kyron's tolerable. Shout out the man, Terrence Ferguson. I think this is the Rams game, obviously. And I think the Rams win by 3 TDs. I'm going to say Rams minus 14. And then the Jags and Raiders. Now, both teams off a bye. And I really like Jacksonville. And everything is like, it's like, oh, Jags, right? I really do want to say Jacksonville on this one, man. And every sign just like points to it. But I think it's the Raiders game. I think this is a win off the bye. They played a little bit better at home. At least the games have been closer, and I think this is a game they might win. I think they cover at least, but I don't know if they could definitely win this one too. The Jags BTJ's got his problems right now. And Bauer's back, Myers back. I mean, it might be Myers' last ever game, so, for the Raiders. And they have that short week coming up, too, which should be an interesting game there, too. Broncos are already getting 10.5 a week ahead. Pretty strange there. Now, the game of the week, besides the Broncos-Texans, the offensive game of the week, the Chiefs and Bills in Buffalo. Now, Buffalo's pass defense has been genuinely really good. They have been one of the best pass defenses in football, honestly. While, their run defense has been struggling a lot, unfortunately. And the Chiefs, they're coming off some hot games. I think Mahomes against Allen the regular season, I want to say he's 1-4. I want to say that's right. And they're back in Buffalo again this year. This is a big game because the Bills need this. The Chiefs need this because they're both second place in the division for the first time in a while. I'm a big Josh Allen guy myself, of course, as I always say. Josh Allen's the best quarterback in football. But can he get it done against the Chiefs? The Chiefs' pass defense has been good. They got some nice wins. I know it's not against great teams, but they're still putting those wins together. The Bills coming off a big win where they win 40-9. I think the Bills win this one. I know, the Chiefs are favored, but I think the Bills are still the better team altogether. I still think James Cook, if Kareem Hunt is going to be your RB1 this week, that's a big factor in this one. Kareem Hunt being the RB1 because Pacheco's hurt, and then Brashard Smith, your 7th rounder, I want to say, is your RB2. I mean, I just can't I can't recommend that one at all. I can't, give the Chiefs. If the Chiefs had Pacheco, that might change my opinion on this game, but for now, I will not be changing it. Now, Seattle, Washington, Washington looks horrible, genuinely. Seattle off a bye. I'm gonna just be sweet and simple here. It's Seahawks -3. The Seahawks are a good team. They're a playoff team. I'm looking forward to seeing them. I was gonna say in October, like baseball, but I'm looking forward to seeing them in the playoffs this year. They should be a fun team. They have a really good offense. They can run the ball. They can throw it. I mean, Washington's defense is just terrible too. So, Seattle -3. Jane Daniels plays. This might get a little closer, but I still think Seattle might win by a touchdown. And then the last game. Dallas is always on television, aren't they? And they play Arizona. And this spread is weird, man. This is arguably the weirdest spread, I think, of the week. At 2.5 only. And, obviously Dallas has been so good at home. And Arizona, they're 2-5. So it's like, every sign points towards Dallas. I'm going to say Arizona plus 2.5. I'm not comfortable saying Arizona to win any game because they're not really capable of doing that. Kyler Murray should be back. Marvin Harrison. I know Bam Knight's still the back, but I think they can make this a good game. They might be able to win it too. I know Dallas has been really good at home, but that defense is the worst in football and the worst I've seen in a while. Give me Arizona plus 2.5, and that's it. That's all I got for you. I know I did poorly last week. Trust me. I've been good with the picks 2 of the last 3 weeks. We're getting back on track here. Peace out.